right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Mentor the Beast, where we help you use the challenges that you're facing in life and turn this into fuel to help you reach your goals. To help me with that today is Geoff Speyrer, Army veteran. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right. So you did a challenge to help raise some money for veterans to help a project called Mission 22. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Mission 22, they help veterans that have PTSD TBI. They help them get treatment and put them in programs that can help them with coping and stuff like that. So that's what Mission 22 is.
So what does the Mission 22 stand for?
Mission 22, what it stands for is the number 22 stands for the 18 to 22 veteran a day average that take their own life.
For trying to cope with the PTSD.
For trying to cope with the PTSD, and they lose that battle to the war within, you know.
Sure.
I've been there personally. 2 different situations where I intentionally overdosed and tried to take my own life.
And so through some of these
programs,
that helped you
to get some coping skills and become better. You know, not healed, because I don't think it's something that you actually ever heal from.
Sure.
But there is a way to find some kind of peace.
Okay.
You know, and direction.
All right. So what inspired you to do this challenge when you did?
So I don't have a huge following on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. And I think I have like a little under 350 followers on Instagram and right around like 1,300 friends on Facebook. So I knew I needed to do something that would be like extreme.
And why?
In order to get a sufficient amount of money, or just like any kind of donations. You know, like I wanted to be able to raise awareness on a massive scale.
And this was during the COVID-19 when it first started, so a lot of things were shutting down. So there was a lot of the help that veterans were receiving, and a lot of the programs that were going to.
New people in.
They couldn't get this help. They couldn't go to, and so.
A lot of people couldn't work out anymore. A lot of people, or I don't want to say couldn't work out. They didn't have that go-to of being able to weight train, so they had to find all kind of other stuff to be able to cope with dealing with those stresses of life.
Sure. So when that happened, you decided that you needed to do something about that.
I needed to do something about that. We did the event shortly after the gym started opening back up and everything, and you know, still doing social distancing. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do something where it was going to be a bunch of people involved.
Sure.
You know, we had very minimal people. You know, so like there were 3 people, myself included. Also, there was myself and 2 other guys, Sean Cam and then Chris Caravella.
Mm-hmm.
They helped pace me for the event.
So one of them rode with you.
Sean
rode with you. So you did a 100-mile bike ride,
cycling,
on a
single speed fixed gear.
Oh,
yeah, no clip-in shoes or anything like that. It was just, you know, all grit, all pain, you know.
Yeah, sure. And then so he rode about 50 of that with you.
Yeah, he rode 50 of that with me.
And then you did a 26.2 mile
marathon distance run.
Both of them ran all of it or some of it with you.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
They ran the whole thing with me.
Right,
Yeah.
And then at the end you did a 1 mile tire flip with a 200-pound tire,
200-pound tractor,
which is, I think you told me, is equivalent of about 630 something flips.
Correct.
Of a tire, of a 200-pound tire.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal, right? Yeah. I guess so.
Like you've seen some of the pictures, man. Like my fingers would, like, so whenever I was some of the pictures that we took, like you can see that, like, you don't realize that until like I look at the pictures and I knew why my fingers were placed the way that they were.
Sure.
Because I couldn't close my hands all the way because they were so tore up on the inside. I didn't want to move them. They were so tore up. But
so I remember when we, because I helped you with this, you know, I did a pace car to, because we started at like 12
12:05 actually, yeah.
Yeah.
12:05 actually was the.
Yeah, so it was dark, so he
yeah.
ran beside y'all so you didn't get hit or anything
Yeah.
like that, and then took some pictures and whatnot like that. But when we got to the tire flip,
You remember what my weigh-in was, right? 202 pounds.
Yeah.
At weigh-in, and then like when we finished it, I was 183 pounds.
God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
183 pounds, and then so we talked about the amount of fluid that I took in for the event, and I mean I took in 4 gallons of water, at least 4 gallons of water
Over the 20, and you did it in 20 because you were supposed to do it in 24 hours.
24 hours, yeah.
And the goal was to raise $5,000, and you ended up raising over $1,000.
10,000.
$10,000.
$10,245 to be exact.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you did it in
20 hours and 53 minutes. Burned 15,000 calories. I lost 19 pounds. But if you look at me taking in the 4 gallons of water, the 4 gallons of water, 8 pounds a gallon.
It's a lot, right?
yeah. So like I was still negative pounds even with the four gallons of water.
Sure. Yeah, I know when you got to the track to flip that tire, it was like, you had the ice down.
Yeah, I was all jacked up, dude. I was all
to get
tore
going,
up.
you'd already tore up. And you still got out there.
I was definitely at 100% way before we got to the tire flip.
So this was about halfway through the tire flip.
I know before I was halfway.
Yeah, so you'd already done the bike ride, and you already done the run. The tire flip was the last event, right? And you were close to $5,000 at this point.
Yeah,
so we were tracking
4,400 and something.
Yeah, we were tracking it, right, and telling you kind of where you were at, right? And about halfway through that tire flip, you got a check for $5,000.
Yeah, from MD Turbines. Correct. Yeah, I instantly started crying.
Yeah.
That felt great, man. I was.
So I mean, I know you were gassed at that point already. So how did that fuel you when you knew you were over doubling?
Hands were tore up, man. Blisters that were past, that were torn off, and it was just like, just keep going. There was no doubt in my mind from the beginning that I was gonna succeed.
You were gonna finish the race.
Yeah, I
regardless.
had to, no matter what. I set this thing up. I created the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I had done all 3 of these events on different days, but I knew that putting them all together in the same day was going to be devastating. So it was, but I mean that was the goal, and it was one of the most satisfying feelings to accomplish that goal.
So how
not just the goal of finishing the event, the goal of raising that money, and the everybody believing in me, and the hearing all the amount of positivity that came from that was very, very motivating. So I couldn't have done it without the donation, without everybody. It was amazing.
Now we had talked about this, different people have said how were you even able to do anything like this? Because just to train for this thing, you're training like 4 or 5 hours. I mean, how many rounds of people? When you're at the gym working out,
5 hours is just what I was putting in
how many rounds of people do you see that come in and out of the gym?
Anywhere from like 4 to 6, probably 4 to 6 waves of people. At that point in time, I was waking up every day. My alarm was set for 4:30.
Sure.
And I was so driven. I was so in tune with my purpose and training and stuff like that. I would wake up 4:19, 4:28, and I would dismiss my alarm before my alarm would even go off. It was like, that's how excited I was every day about training, about because I was creating that. I trained with Zoli for a couple months and stuff like that, and then I went to pick up the training and stuff like that. So I intensified it and
And Zoli, he owns Destin
Athletic Club, yeah.
Yeah, because this all took place in Destin, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was about right at a mile and a half from my house. So every day I would either cycle or I'd run there. I work out for 4 or 5 hours, I would literally get there at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't leave until it was sometimes lunch. Sometimes it was 1 o'clock, And then I would go and cycle for a few hours.
So just so people can give some perspective on this, you created this event about 8 days before you did the event?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I in my mind, I had an idea that I wanted to do this challenge. I was like, man, I want to set up this challenge. You know, like I'd never seen a tire flip part of any kind of challenge like this, and they're like, oh well. It's similar to like an Ironman. No, I've never seen I never saw a tire flip in an Ironman. You know.
Sure.
But so like or a single speed fixie. You know.
Sure.
And
it's usually got gears on the bike.
Right?
It's like a little kid's bike.
You take a break.
So basically, your bike is. I mean, it's obviously not a little kid's bike, but the way it's set up is if the tires are turning, the pedals
Positive
are turning.
traction.
Yeah. So you don't get any. You can't coast.
You can't.
Basically,
There
you
is
can't
no
coast.
coast.
If you're moving, your legs are moving. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
whenever you take. So the best way I can explain it to people is because like whenever I tell people that it's a single speed fixed gear, they still don't get the grasp of it in their head until I take the bike and I turn it upside down, or I'll pick the back tire off the ground and then I take the tire and go forward, backward with it, and then they see the pedals do like this at the.
They're moving at the same time.
Same ratio.
Yeah,
you know
with
what I'm saying?
the tire, yeah.
And I'm like, single speed, fixed gear, positive traction, never brake, never coast. You know,
Just go.
21 hours, 20 hours and 53 minutes. It's 20 hours and 53 minutes the exact time. My legs never stop moving.
Now, just to put this in a more perspective for everyone, your left foot is frozen, right? It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not frozen.
Right. It's not frozen, but it doesn't.
Paralyzed. Like I have neuropathy. I can't like I don't like this kind of tingles a little bit. Like whenever I rub my fingers.
But you got this big,
so
like huge scar down your leg.
So yeah,
what is this from?
Medication to keep me from dreaming. It's from Risperdal. So I don't take medication anymore.
So what were you taking this medication for? When were you taking this medication?
Right after I got back from Iraq, I went to. I was struggling with the traumas and stuff like that or whatever. I was struggling with what I was dealing with. And I didn't even know really what I was dealing with because I didn't understand PTSD. I didn't understand any of this stuff. And then one day I went to Fort Polk and I was put on Risperdal to help me with dreaming, and it froze the muscle. Again, compartment syndrome is what it was. So initially they did a fasciotomy. They cut me like 6 to 8 inches down my leg. And so that was the first scar. And then later on, the muscle became gangrenous and necrotic. I was doing hyperbaric therapy.
Sure.
And it didn't get any better. And then I had to get cut the rest of the way down. And then they removed the muscle out of my leg. The doctor told me, Dr. Mayer told me that he almost amputate the leg, above the knee. Thank God that it didn't.
Sure.
I mean, I still have my leg. I can still pound on it, but that would have been devastating.
But your ankle doesn't work properly.
No, I can't. I can't lift my foot up or anything like that.
So you just run on it.
Yeah.
And you got a rod in your.
Yeah, I have a rod in my upper in my femur. So I got into a motorcycle accident. This was during my second marriage. And, I came back in from Texas and I had this crotch rocket. It's a Honda RC51 1000 RV twin Naked Hayden limited edition bike. I had this thing fixed up and I got home. I started drinking, went and picked the bike up, just acting ridiculous. And I got into an accident. And the last thing I remember was I went into this curve in Broussard right in front of the police department.
In Louisiana?
Yeah, in Louisiana, in Lafayette. I hit some gravel on a curve. And it's a 15 mile an hour curve. That's how sharp it was. And I was probably doing close to 90 miles an hour. The bike went down. I had steel reinforced jeans on, chaps, leather jacket. I didn't have a scratch on me. But the last thing that I remember was seeing headlights. And I mean, I didn't know if I got hit by a car or what. And then, whenever I came to, I could hear my bike purring in the background.
So what hit you?
There was a 4x4 mailbox post, and my leg hit the post, and then wrapped all the way. My left foot was sitting on my right shoulder when the ambulance got. And I'm in shock. So like I'm trying to pull myself off of it. I'm trying to get away from it. I'm like, man, I need to turn my bike off and this and that. But I didn't realize that my leg was stuck. That's why I couldn't go anywhere.
So it snapped your leg.
So when I went into surgery, my left leg was 6 inches shorter than my right leg. Because they had taken it, obviously they had to unwrap it off the post. And it got there, and then when they were like almost 3/4 of the way around, it binded. And I was like, I grabbed onto the because they had me on, I think they had me on the boat or whatever. So, or maybe no, I'm sorry, I was not on a stretcher yet. But they're undoing some. I'm kind of like stiffed up on the ground like this, and then it just like, I guess the bone jumped on top of each other. But we have to do this. I was like, please hit me with something. And that was really the last thing I remember before I went into surgery. I mean, I guess I kind of was out of it from the shock and stuff.
I guess.
So they put the rod in my leg. They cut me down from right above my hip, and then I had screws that were put here, and they cut me here and here, and then I have 2 more cuts that you can't really see, but there's from here to here. So there's this section right here that there's no scar on, and then this 3-inch section on my knee.
The rest of your leg is cut off.
The rest of my leg has been cut on.
And now you told me you have titanium plates in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you've been shot. You've been stabbed.
Yeah, that was stuff that didn't even happen at war.
Right.
I went all the way through Iraq.
You all the way through Iraq. So
and
I'm trying to get that. You go 18 months to play. Oh my God, that is crazy. You put this thing together. You put this event together about 8 days before you performed it, and this was right at the end of COVID.
Correct.
Right. Or right at the end of the first part of it, not the end of it. Obviously, it hadn't ended, right? But just when they start letting things open back up a little bit, right? Prior to that, you were already training like this, though.
Yeah.
You were already training.
I was already doing my own thing. Cycling a lot and running.
So people understand why you were. This is how you
flipping
were
covering. Yeah.
This is how you were coping with your PTSD and TBI, right? I mean, that's what we had talked about. I think a lot of people don't understand what PTSD and TBI is. I know I didn't really understand what it was, right? I mean, you hear it on TV, you hear it on, if you're scrolling through a feed, because I've never been in the military before, so, but you hear about it, right? You have friends that have it and whatnot like that. Can you tell us a little bit about it so people understand?
Like how you get it?
Yeah, how you get it.
It doesn't even have to be combat situation related, or I don't want to say combat situation related, but you don't exactly have to even be in a real bad situation. Sure. It could be that, let's just say you're deployed. Mm-hmm. And this situation like this happen all the time where there's a real bad situation that your friends are on and you couldn't be out there.
Something happens.
Something happens, people start dying, some guys get hit, RPGs, IEDs, vehicle-borne IEDs, whatever. It's just firefights.
Somebody dies. Angles up.
Right. And if you couldn't be out there, you could feel guilty. Like, oh, that should have been me. I should have been able to help them. And you start to carry those feelings, because you're more, when you go through training, there's no man left behind. That's our thing.
That's your motto.
Yeah, you don't leave a man behind. And then when you have to come home without them, you feel responsible for that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like where that sets in. You feel that guilt. You feel that resentment towards yourself. You start to be unhappy with why wasn't I out there? Why wasn't I on that mission? Why didn't that happen to me? Why was it them? And you have to find some kind of way you have to cope with that. You have to figure out how to deal with that.
So you were in Iraq, in Baghdad.
I was in Baghdad, Iraq.
2004, 2005. You were a gunner.
I was
EOD.
a vehicle gunner on EOD escort and route clearance.
Okay.
Route clearance is when you ride down the road at, very slow rate of speed. Could be any point in time. It's just whenever they dictate or whenever they decide is the time of day that they want you to go out there. You know, I mean, these missions last for a long time.
So you're at this point you're 19 years old, right? So I think that's something that, you know, when you was talking about, I really didn't understand until we just kind of got into the conversation. You know, you see on TV that a lot of these people are, a lot of these guys are older because they're,
like movies
actors
and stuff like that.
You know, they're actors,
right.
But they look like they're in their like 30s and 40s. So you
Right.
assume that you don't really think about, you know, these are kids. You know, they're out there, they're 18, 19 years old. They go from, you know, Wyoming or, you know, wherever, Louisiana, wherever you're at, to, you know, everything's hostile. You're getting shot at. You got camel spiders. Is that what you was telling me about?
So yeah, man, we were going through some briefings in Kuwait, like trying to prepare us for the situation out there, and they're talking about like the sand fleas and like, you know, I mean, dude, we were getting people from home to like send us like flea collars and stuff like that, so we could like wrap around our ankles and our wrists to keep it, because like they had this one guy that like had a sand flea or whatever, and laid babies in his knee. So he had this like, his knee was swollen, and then they go and they cut it open, and then there's all these little bugs, these little fleas that like are like spewing out of his leg or something like that or whatever. And then, you know, and then you see this picture of these guys that are like side by side, like from me to you, and they're holding each a leg of this like, looks like an alien, but it's a camel spider, you know, or whatever. You know, it's just like, I don't want to come in contact with that. These things jump like 12 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, or something like that.
Oh my
like
God.
It jumps? Really? What's the rules of engagement on that? You know, like, and so I mean, you're seeing all this.
It's bad enough people shooting at you. You got these spiders.
Yeah, not like what?
That's
These
like
things
in
gonna
a
jump on my back? You know?
sci-fi movie.
Yeah. It's almost like, yeah.
So did you see any of those while you were out there?
I never saw one.
Never saw a camel spider.
No, and not to say they're not out there, because I mean they do exist. I don't know. They just weren't on our missions.
That's good.
Right. Like, imagine running down the road, or like going down the road in a Humvee, and then you have this like times 20 size tarantula that like jumps 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever.
That you got.
That's odd, dude. It's really odd. Oh, now you don't have an enemy. You have like,
especially there's like a herd of those, or wherever they come in. You know, there's like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Just like coming at you.
What if you run into a nest of those things, dude? Like, what? Are you serious?
That'd be nasty.
It'd be like Call of Duty Black Ops something, you know, like Alien versus Predator.
Yeah. That's messed up.
Sad. Don't put that in my mind.
Yeah, that's messed up. That's just one more thing for you to think about.
Yeah, I think I have dreams about those things.
Y'all go out there, you know, and you were telling me about some of these missions where you would, the first time you come in contact with the enemy and like everything's blowing up and something blows up, you can't hear, you can't hardly see, dust going everywhere, and you know something flips in your mind. So now it's like you just kind of chilling, looking at stuff,
Yeah,
and everything seems calm,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, bullets whizzing by your head. People that were you were just talking to are now, you know, blown up. It's crazy.
Going on, whatever. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what. I wish that there was something that would have been, you know, like when you go through these briefings, they're kind of like trying to prepare you for what you're going to see.
Sure.
You know, they're showing you like things about V-beds and IEDs, like what the IEDs look like and what you have to look for, and like that, you know, it could be trash, it could be a dead dog on the side of the road, it could be inside of a human being. I mean, literally, they would use everything and anything against you. Like, oh, there's a carcass on the side of the road. Well, it might be an IED. They would literally cut their own people open and fill them up with, you know, South African 155 or 15, whatever, you know, like some kind of round or something like that. And then like you go to like see what it is, and they blow it up on you or whatever. So they don't have a moral turnoff of like, or I don't know even how you would even call it, like standard. You know, they'll use a kid. They'll cut open a kid and then like put that on the side of the road, and then, you know, stitch them up, and then it's got like a cell phone attached to the IED, and then all they do is like, oh, when you get close enough to it, they're gonna call the cell phone, and then boom, it's gonna like blow up on you and kill you. So that does something to you. That changes who you are. That violates your moral belief, like
how you think things
things should be. You know
like
what
people
I'm saying?
just shouldn't do that to these
Why would
people.
you?
Like you don't never do that.
You should never do that. You know,
But
it's
it's happening.
There's no rules of war. Yeah. So just going through a brief and just going through thinking that you might come into contact with stuff like that does something to you, because you're trying to prepare for this every day. Every time you go out, you have to prepare for, man, what am I going to see out there? Like everything, your senses are so heightened the whole time that you're out there, and you have to go from like being peaceful to very extreme very quick. And so it's very hard to change that when you come back home. You know, I don't think anybody's, knows how to, it's very hard to handle those feelings when you come back.
So you're telling me, so you go through that, you were out there 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it was 18-month total deployment, in country 12 months.
And then you come back home and everybody tells you, we'll just deal with it when you get home.
Yeah, that was before I left. They said, do what you have to do, make it back home, and we'll deal with whatever when you get back.
But nobody's ready for what happened.
Nobody's ready. I mean, you're not ready. They're not ready.
Happened.
You don't even know how you're gonna. You made it through, but that doesn't mean that you're okay.
Sure.
And then especially whenever you've been around people that understand the situation because they've been out there with you. But now that you come home and you're around a bunch of people that don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't have that same kind of trauma, but like they may also have PTSD from what you were dealing with out there. Like your family is going to have some type of trauma from fearing for your life. Like, what if my kid doesn't come home? Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't and they weren't at war. But now, what happened to that person is now affecting the family, and now affecting other people, and now it's affecting you, and it's like it's way bigger than just what we understand or how to deal with. It causes a lot of problems because you try to cope with these situations through drugs or alcohol or whatever, or anger, or you become very enraged easily. And then that's not everybody, but that's some of the things that happen to me.
The families and friends that they're coming back and they're trying, as a veteran or as somebody that's maybe still, in the military.
Yeah.
But they're coming back and forth off these missions. What could you tell them that would help them be able to interact more effectively?
Be supportive. Don't tell them how to deal with their traumas. Don't tell them what to do. And what I mean by that is, don't act like you know what they've been through.
Yeah.
Try to be compassionate.
So essentially, you're not looking for anybody to fix anything. You just want somebody to listen to you so you can work through it.
Don't act like you understand it, but just be supportive the best way that you can, and that depends on the person.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're talking to somebody and they haven't been there, they don't understand it.
Right.
You weren't trying to get them to understand
right.
it. You were just trying to.
You're just trying to express what's going on inside of you, and if you portray feelings of like awkwardness, then you're going to make them feel more awkward, and that's going to make them. I feel like that's going to make a person want to become more like standoffish or like not want to come out. Just shut down. Become isolated.
Because they don't want to make other people feel awkward.
And then when you isolate, then you are not dealing and coping with anything. It's just you're harboring those feelings, and then at any given moment, that could explode into something that could just be really not good.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be simple like that, but I don't know.
That's fine. That's fine. I mean, everybody can understand that. So, what would you suggest to some of these people some of the people that are in the military coming home, that they should do before it turns into something negative?
I would definitely, one of the things that helped me was that whenever I got into PTSD and TBI treatment, I strongly recommend somebody, even if you think that you're not messed up, when I got in that program, I connected with these guys because they understood me. They were people again that had been to combat. So like you kind of get that combat connection again. You know what I'm saying? You have
So you're not just
that
talking to
feeling of
somebody
that
that can't
camaraderie.
understand you. Yeah.
Yeah, and they understand you. Well, so do the therapists that are there. A lot of these therapists, these peer supports and stuff like that, are people that have been through similar things. That's why they are peer support, because they have that passion to help you. And that was one of the most beneficial things, man. I'm still connected with my peer support specialist from Biloxi, Mississippi, at the VA, man. Absolutely, yeah. That's my suggestion to anybody that comes back. But don't let a situation, a failure, what you think is a failure, an event, define who you are. That's what I would like people to understand, to the message that I would like to deliver. Don't let a situation, don't let a period of time define the person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Let that propel you to be better, because if it didn't kill you, then it was something to learn from.
Sure.
Use it for fuel. Don't use it to destroy your life. Sometimes that happens. It happened with me. I lived a very self-destructive life. I was, the king of my own destruction, the leader of that, I definitely led that. And so don't let those events bring you in that direction.
So let me ask you this. You were telling me that, when you came back, you didn't really know exactly, before you got into some of these treatment plans, you really didn't know how to deal with what was happening to you. You became very self-destructive, got into some drugs, some drinking, issues with the law, incarcerated. What was the turning point that you said, okay, I gotta make some adjustments? And what inspired you to do that? What?
Just being around, so whenever that turning point happened, I was incarcerated.
Okay.
And I was tired of it. I was tired of my family seeing me as like a failure.
Sure.
And just being all jacked up. And before I became a statistic, which I was very close to becoming several times and was okay with at that time, I needed to make that change.
Yeah.
I needed to make that turnaround in my life. And the correctional officers that were at the facility that I was at,
mm-hmm.
were telling me how much they were like, man, dude, you've got an impact on people. Yeah, these guys are connected to you. They believe in you, and you need to do what, you need to continue to try to help people, because you obviously have a gift that can help people.
Sure.
And you need to go in that direction. And so when I got out, I lost my direction for a little while, and that's whenever I signed up for the PTSD and TBI treatment in Biloxi at the VA.
So you go through that. So that was basically, when did you get out from being incarcerated? Was that 2019?
February of 2019.
So February of 2019. You went through some of this treatment. You got here to Destin in November.
It was before November. So I was officially, I was back and forth after I got after I was released. I was back and forth. But at full time, I was back. I started staying in Destin in September, the end of September, whenever I got out of the PTSD and TBI treatment. And then while I was in Biloxi, that's whenever I found Destin Athletic Club.
Sure.
On an ad in Facebook. And then whenever I got home, I went and I talked to him, and that was in November.
Okay.
After I did
at that point, what kind of condition were you in at that point?
I wasn't in great condition. Whenever I started training with Zoli, I couldn't even do a warm up. I was dying.
And you tell me you're doing 3 miles was killing you.
Yeah, 3 miles sucked. Bad. 10-minute miles, which I was smoking cigarettes and stuff like that. And when I went to the gym and talked to him, I immediately cut all that stuff out.
You decided this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's over with. Then went straight into fitness, started training with him, and then I trained for the hour, and then as I was getting more and more fit, I would start adding things onto that, an additional hour, 30 minutes on the air assault bike until like, I mean, I've literally done 100 miles on the air assault bike in a day. I've sat on the, the Airdyne and just racked it out for 6 hours, 7 hours, dude, 100 miles.
How do you use the things that you've been through to help fuel?
Well, so like the things that I was using to fuel the addiction, now fuel it the opposite way.
How?
Because I don't want to go back. I never want to go back to where I was at because it was such a poor life. I had zero influence on anybody. The only thing I was doing was killing myself. Selling drugs, whatever. I was not living a positive life at all.
Sure.
I was just waiting, literally waiting to die. Now I enjoy my life very much. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm gonna die in training, but
right.
I really enjoy what I do now.
So at this point, you did that, right? As far as what you were trying to do, you were trying to make $5,000 and you did over $10,000. So the next thing, we decided to get together and, put together something for November for veterans.
I think it's gonna be kind of like a team building event, correct?
Yep. So what do you want to tell people about that? What goal do you see? What do you want to happen now? Now that you've done that and you've got a little bit of push behind you, where do you want to take it?
Of like, so whenever I do my training, it's always a 10% increase. Everything's 10, I try to do things 10%, like do 10% more, 10% more, do a little bit more, a little bit extra. I think the amount of donations that we'll be able to bring in will be a lot more significant. And I hope people share it, like just really share it and help us get out there, man. It doesn't matter like what country it's in, like to just participate.
What is the takeaway that you want somebody to have from what you have learned through what you've been through and kind of where you're at now? What kind of takeaway do you want to have?
Like not letting an event or a situation define who you are. Not letting something that happened to you take your life away from you. It's up to you to take control of your life. It's up to you to leave a legacy that means something.
So how would you suggest them do that? What is it like? Just say one or two things that you
get out there and go and do what 99% of the population won't do. Go do something that you might not enjoy doing. You might not be good at something, but go be great at it. Go do it to the extent that
you learn how to be great.
You learn how to be great.
Sure.
So many people do things that are like they're just good at. Well, don't just do something that you're just good at. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's one of the things that like I've had to learn how to do was I'm very comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's not always fun, but it's like when you feel that friction, that you're going to get stronger behind. You know that you're going to be better because of it.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's very important.
Where can people find you right now so they can kind of follow what you're doing?
On Instagram, I'm at Geoff Speyrer. It's just at Geoff Speyrer, no dots, no nothing. It's just my first name and my last name. On Facebook, it's Geoff Caleb Speyrer. Email is jeff.speyrer@gmail.com. And if you email me, put where you heard me from in the subject line.
So you want people to kind of connect with you and ask you
interact,
questions and interact with you.
Let's create. Let's help people. That's what I'm about.
So we'll put some stuff in the links below that you'll be able to find this. Everything's spelled out for you, so you'll be able to check it out. Thank you so much for being on the show, Ron.
Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see y'all soon.